18 players. This is Bob. It's snowy in Pittsburgh today. But guess what? The big boards are live here on Underdog. So we're ripping off a quick big board before we go live tomorrow. And let's get cracking here. So I know we were talking about what we would see on the board coming out last week when we were talking, conference championship Sunday here. Playoffs haven't even ended yet, but look at the board. Look what's happening right now. We've got a lot of things that we've talked about all off season or all season so far. So let's see if I can make this a little bit easier to see for everybody here. Might have to go back and forth. And again, feel free to watch on replay. This is just a quick rip after I saw just shoveled snow. We got about like 12 inches here in Pittsburgh, maybe 14. It's looking like the back end of this board is looking really nice. Seeing where my pick is coming out at. As I shared with you earlier, I'm not like a huge fan of the Ashton Genty Omarion Hampton pick, so I'm probably just going to go with another wide receiver here. Possibly even Chase Brown. Might double up with T. Usually I don't like to do that, but we'll see what the board gives us and how the board clears out. As we said, that it might be a good idea to wait on wide receivers. We'll see what happens with that. And even Brock Bowers here, not super confident in that pick. So we might go down a little bit. I think that Nico's a good buy there, but as I said, I'm a little bit nervous about Nico in that slot. I'm going to think about Bucky here probably after I take another wide receiver. So there goes Nico, and this will be a double Bengals team. So we'll load up Joe Burrow. ADP 74, which is an interesting ADP for Joe Burrow here. That slots him somewhere in the 6th, 7th round. That's fair. I like it. I see where it's going. So I see that. Looking at the board right now, it's really interesting who has climbed, who has fallen since this last season. As you can see, what we talked about with Justin Jefferson falling to the beginning of the 2nd round, which, nobody's really shocked. Nobody's really shocked by that by any stretch of the imagination. Jeremiah Love, first rookie off the board. His situation is going to be really dependent upon where he goes. Obviously going to be the number one, probably number 2 pick, maybe number 3 pick. He will probably start to climb. Loving the Bijan. Again, I'm not super confident in Chase, but I would take shots on him. I think it's important right here to get multiple wide receivers. Bucky Irving, that was going to be my pick, so we can go in a different direction. I'm not mad at Tet. I know you guys know me and Tet. Chris Olave with all banged up. Am I willing? I'm willing to roll the dice on Tet here, actually. So we're going a little bit helter-skelter based upon what we've done in the past. But again, new season, new things to see. For everybody out there watching right now or everybody watching on replay, this is the first big board that we're ripping off here on Local Football Flavor. As I said, I am avoiding Rashee Rice. He would be pretty good value there. I'm also avoiding Devontae Adams at this price point. I think that Tet gives us a way better value, even considering that, we're sitting there with Jamar and T. Not necessarily a combination that you want to go with too often, but as you go through your portfolios, it's not a bad spot to be in. When we talked last week, we said that A.J. Brown would fall. I think getting A.J. Brown there in the 3rd round is perfect, to be honest with you. Colston Loveland in the 3rd round, I am not about that life. You can go catch me somewhere else. So based off of what we talked about, Colston Loveland in the 3rd round, I will avoid Colston Loveland in these early big boards as much as possible. Same with Josh Allen. I think Josh Allen in the 3rd round is not good value, especially considering when we come in and we look at the ADP of these other quarterbacks. Jackson Dart sitting at 70, Trevor at 73, Joe Burrow at 74, Jaden Daniels at 75. It might not be a bad idea to rip off a Burrow Jaden Daniels coming back around, you know, when we get to 70 and 75 realistically. So I'm curious about that. Jacobs in the third. That's not bad value for Jacobs at this point in time. We saw what we talked about with James Cook flying up the board based off of last season. Double rookie running back there. I don't necessarily think that's a necessity at this point in time to go with that. You can see the best running backs on the board right now. We've got Brees, Ken Walker, Judkins, Jalen Warren. These are all guys that we have talked about in the past. You know, there's a lot of uncertainty with these guys. So it can, you know, one of them is probably going to hit. A lot of them are going to fail. So in so far as that's true, we see also that Kyle Pitts, speaking of failures at points in time, Kyle Pitts is the next tight end off the board, or coming off the board soon. Garrett Wilson in the fourth round, I think, is fair value. Hopefully New York gets a quarterback. We've talked about the value in him multiple times. As long as you don't have to push for him in the second or third round, I think that's fine. Honestly, though, I would not have taken Josh Allen if I wanted to take Garrett there. Kyron in the fourth round, you know, still swinging around. Brees in the fourth round is great, tremendous value there. You can take that basically to the bank right there. And a lot of rookie wide receivers have pushed up on this board as well. Drake May being the next quarterback off the list. So curious here, based upon his performance today, how that will elevate and or push him down the board. Christian McCaffrey, Omarion Hampton, Devontae Adams start for the guy here in 5. I think as you look at it early, that's not bad. G-Staff going tight end, running back, running back, running back. I could see myself potentially doing that in some drafts. But I'm not sure those are the 3 running backs that I would take. But Derrick Henry back here in the top of the second round, he's eventually going to probably skate into that first round. All of these first round running backs are basically the running backs you would want to have in the first round. You can catch me on the other side of that. We're going to take Cam Scatterbo here. As long as he can return, I think that that's great. And as you can see here, Caleb Williams, guys, Lamar and then Caleb. We talked about this. And we talked about how that ADP is climbing. And Herbert, you know, I was besmirching Herbert quite a bit on the show last week. With McDaniel being the offensive coordinator there now, that could change things a bunch. You go with Caleb as a quarterback in the 4th round. No thanks. Absolutely no thanks on that one. Alec Pierce at 54 is kind of wild and absurd to me. We're going to go with Judkins here and then wait on quarterbacks. So we're taking 2 injured rookies from last year. You know, first big board, seeing how the pieces lie. I am not at all angry about this team. It's fairly balanced. We get our 3 wide receivers to start with. We do have 2 running backs that we clipped off the board here. If we don't get Joe Burrow, that will be sad. But tight ends flying off the board, guys. Flying off the board in these early big boards. I would caution you, everybody who is doing a big board right now, I would caution you guys against that. I would also caution against taking rookie wide receivers really high. We know that one of them is going to smack, but 5th round, is it the time? I think until we see what teams they land on, I would probably push them down my board a little bit more. I love the Brees in the 4th round here. I know the situation for him is going to be a little bit wild. Same with Travis Etienne. I think that situation is going to be something to figure out. Ideally, this Bucky Irving at the 3 turn would be nice. I was thinking about taking him here at the 22, and I should have, because I would have been much more satisfied with that, but that's fine. We talked about Christian Watson as well. Christian Watson flew up the board. Touchdown hog. So when you're looking at the big board coming up here, you're seeing Christian Watson at number 57. Alec Pierce at 56 is absurd. Okay, you know me. I love Alec Pierce. But at pick 56, catch me with that dumb shit. No thanks. We don't even know what team he's going to next year. We don't even know what the focal point of that team will be, or if it will be Alec Pierce. Lamar Jackson, great value, 5'11". Really love this team right here. Marv at 5'12". Yeah, give me that all day. Give me Marv. Give me Waddle at 6'1". Love that. Luther Burden at 6'2", I think is a little high. But again, I think it's fine. Taking a look at the quarterback situation here, and we see Igbuka here at 64. So that's really something to keep our eyes on. We will pivot into a couple running backs over the course of time. Looking at Brian Thomas Jr. at 85, Parker Washington at 92, that's going to be some crazy nice value coming up for some people here. Okay. We're probably going to see Trevor Lawrence go in one of these next picks to Bicardi or Roar. I would not take Mike Evans at 66. 64 for him is good. Michael Wilson is 68. So you see all those kind of interesting value wide receivers go. We haven't had a running back go since DeAndre Swift. So a lot of people pushing those running backs down the board based upon situation. Again, there's a lot of guys to take a chance on. That's why a lot of people are loaded up at running backs fairly early. We're going to take Joe Burrow here because we don't want to get sniped. And, if I'm being honest, if Jane Daniels is there on the comeback, guys, I'm going to take my shot. So if he's there on the comeback, we're going to go double quarterback, and we're going to end that pretty much right away. So far, we got an interesting team. Injuries problematic for us, yes. All of the players on our team probably have had an injury once or twice in the last 2 years. I'm really liking the value of a guy like Waddle. I don't understand Harold Fannin there. T-Law, I get. That makes sense. Jalen Hurts is probably going to go off the board here in round 7. We're going to take Jaden Daniels, and we're going to be done with quarterback. Hopefully they don't end up on the same bye. The Joe Burrow and Jaden Daniels, you see right now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 quarterbacks off the board. Intriguing. We have 2 of our top guys here at Local Football Flavor with Burrow and Daniels, and I'm willing to take that any day of the week. It's going to be interesting what we get from round 8 through round 13 here. You're going to see a lot of quarterbacks start to go off the board, and I think it's interesting. Hurts here at 7, round 7. And it's the reason Hurts, Stafford, Daniels down here in round 7 is why you won't want to take Drake May or Caleb in round 4. Just being honest, right? All right, so let's see what we can concoct down here. Pittman's going to be in a new situation going into next year. Pearsall's good value here. We might target Tucker Kraft. I think that life will be okay. Bashal Tootin is going to be interesting if they decide to move away from ETN. Wandale's going to get a new spot. Dobbs is going to get a new spot. Shakir is going to stay. We got Bo sitting here too. 12-week recovery. He can do it. That makes sense. And guys, this is the thing. There's so much quarterback value on the board that, yeah, I didn't need to go Burrow and Daniels. That was probably, a bad decision here. But as we look at the board, I mean, the value is going to be there. This is going to be the round to target. These are going to be round 6, 7, 8, 9 are going to be the rounds to target your quarterbacks, right? We can already see it, right? Look at all those names still on the list. Patrick Mahomes, Dak, Bo, Brock Purdy, Tyler Shook, Bryce Young. I mean, these guys down here, Mendoza, I wouldn't take him. But if there's room, we might even put another quarterback on this team This is a 20-round draft. I don't think we have the leeway to do that. There goes Tucker Kraft, round 8. As I said, I think round 8 is where I'd be comfortable buying into a tight end. Tucker Kraft is the best of the bunch, so just catch me and we'll do some later action. Here we go with Kittle. I think Kittle and AJ Barner are probably two or three guys that you want to target. Terrence Ferguson is interesting enough. So let's see what's on the board. There goes DJ Moore. Dalton Kincaid could be interesting there. Again, I don't really value him too much. Sam Laporta, again, down here around 9. Planning to be ready for camp. That's an interesting pick. All right, we're going to roll out Ricky Pearsall here. You guys know I love Pearsall. Can't get away from him, it seems like. And, we might do Jaden Higgins, but Pat Bryant's looked good too. We're going to queue up some of these guys because I'm a big fan of taking shots on some of these guys. So let's queue up one of them. We do want another running back. Is Woody Marks good enough? Will they keep him? Corey Krosky-Merritt, is he good enough? Lots of question marks there. Zach Charbonnet, he will get something going next year. Rashad White in a new situation, most likely. So there's a lot of things to look for here. We obviously don't need quarterback anymore, so we're just going to X off of that. Addison sitting there still too. So, I mean, again, tight end is not an important position here, guys. Well, it is an important position, but I think we can continue to wait. With Laporta being the guy that we would want, but he is not necessarily the buy, I think, right there. We're going to go Woody and then hope to get Jaden Higgins on the comeback. So we're going with 3 rookie running backs from this last year. A lot of the running back value does dry up, it seems, right here of this year's crop of running backs. Now, there's going to be a lot of rookie running backs that we're going to probably target and pivot into in these last few rounds coming up around 15, 16, 17, 18. But so far, we have a team of Burrow, Daniels, Scadaboo, Judkins, Marks, Chase, Higgins, Tet, Ricky Pearsall. And in the big board, again, just like most other tournaments, you need to start 3 wide receivers, 2 running backs, 1 flex, 1 tight end, and 1 quarterback. I think we're pretty good with that. So now we're building that depth piece. So with 20 rounds, we do want to probably have 2 tight ends, maybe 3. I want to go for at least 5 running backs and 6 wide receivers, maybe 7. So we'll see how that rolls out. But again, this is the first big board that we're doing here at Local Football Flavor. Just a one-off here. We'll be in tomorrow with Joe. But this is just, I was going to rip one off anyway, so we might as well stream it while we're doing it. And as you can see, not a lot of running backs are going off the board here. It makes sense because when you look at what happened earlier, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21 running backs went off the board before round 4 was over. So, there's a lot of things. There's a lot of things to question about. Is that a viable strategy to go, 2 or 3 running backs early? Probably smart. You might not want to wait as long as I did to round 4, but I do think that there is a lot of value in Scadaboo, Judkins, and Woody going into next year. There's realistic, there could be there's going to be some of these rookies that are going to come in and ball out. But again, based off of what we saw this past year, there's going to be a lot of fails, a lot of people that are going to do great, a lot of people that are going to do so. So you see, you got David Montgomery here. He's going to be on a new team next year. Will George Kittle, is this going to be his last year? Says, and the tight end said he expects to return to action well before November during the 2026 season. Will he be ready by week 1? Probably not. So that's something to keep your eye on. If you took one of those early tight ends, there is no problem in taking one of Kittle late. I mean, he's been at one of the top 5 tight ends recently. So I'm not opposed to that. We've got some interesting wide receivers sliding down this board. I think Braylon Allen is a guy that we're definitely thinking about there. Pacheco is still there. That's so interesting to me how everybody values him. Tyler Higbee is still going to be hanging around. Marvin Mims is still going to be hanging around. Trey Benson, Jadon Blue. What's the story with him? It's just interesting to see all these guys that we have promoted, as a fantasy football community, fly all the way down certain people's boards, especially in these early tournaments. So there goes Higgins. I like Pat Bryant. We're going to go Pat Bryant. And honestly, so let's see what hits here for us. I believe this guy will go Chris Godwin. I don't see how he doesn't. All right, so we're taking Godwin here. So as we just said, last week, a guy that we do really like going into next year is Godwin. Quite frankly, I like all of the wide receivers for Tampa. And I mean, when you're looking at Godwin here at round 11, would I rather have him than Goff and Love? Sure. But as I said, looking at where I took Joe Burrow and Jane Daniels, I passed on Parker Washington. I passed on Thomas, passed on McLaurin. Out of those guys, I love Pittman and Monangai as well. So maybe taking Monangai, waiting on Daniels, and then taking, a Bo Nix where I took Pat Bryant. Sure. I mean, there's a lot of things, a lot of kinks to work out in the system. But again, with these early big boards, it's fun to just play around and see what the board gives you as well. The board gave us Chris Godwin. I'm happy about that. I would have been happy with, Higgins as well. Higgins went 1 pick before Pat Bryant. So obviously I would have been happy with Pat and Jaden, but we can't all get those things all the time. So let's take a look at that for a moment. I just want to see Godwin's contract. Godwin's under contract for the 2026 season, so restructuring a potential part of the ways appears to be in the cards this offseason. Again, I think he'll be fine going into next year. He'll get a shot somewhere. Jalen McMillan is there. We have seen Jaden McMillan perform admirably as well. I'll be taking a shot at him most likely as well if they're thinking that Godwin's going to go away. I like Tyler Algier there. Deebo Samuel, guys, still hanging around. You're not going to see him go off the board until probably a bit later. There goes David Montgomery, round 11. We see a Baker, Sam Darnold team. The wide receivers are nice. The running backs have a lot of potential there. I like what that's brewing over there. So a lot of these teams, and you're going to get super unique teams throughout. Tyler Shook there in round 12. That's his third quarterback. So we do have probably the ability to take a third quarterback. But we'll take a chance on someone. Probably not yet. There goes George Kittle. And that guy probably already has a tight end so that he was able to take a chance on Kittle. Yeah, he has Laporta. So if you have Laporta, I do recommend taking a chance on Kittle. Again, Tajay and Kamani are super interesting guys. I'm really intrigued by both of them. I do like A.J. Barner here. I would like another running back. They do like Sean Tucker there. You know, things can shake down differently. Will this be James Conner's last season? Rashad White is going to find a new team somewhere. J.K. Dobbins isn't hanging up the tights anytime soon. Tyreek Hill is, so we'll see. I'm actually going to go with Jalen because I like what he's got. Oh, we missed our pick. Well, we have Jalen queued up, so it doesn't matter. All right, so let's scoot AJ Barner up. And you'll see I am passing on a bunch of running backs here. We're going to skate into some running backs soon. Again, will Chris Godwin be on the team? We don't know. What will happen with some of these players? So we're going to take some chances on some running backs coming up very soon. I believe Kamara's probably going to retire. Dylan Sampson, when the new coach comes in, how will they use him? So that will be really interesting to see. But A.J. Barner is going to be my pick here as a tight end, round 13. I might even wait. Let's see who I like down here. We like Mason Taylor. We do like Mason Taylor. Arroyo's there. Yeah, we're going to avoid him right now. Let's see. We're going to take White in the off chance that he goes somewhere that he can be useful. I know he's not the best he's not always the best yardage guy, and I am not building a Tampa stack here by any means, but I am interested at the very minimum to see what's going to go down there. So we'll load up on a couple running backs in the next couple of picks. If we have time, we might get another quarterback. So Devin Neal, will he be back? For sure. But will they go with somebody else? The darling of last year, Jarquez Hunter. Will Jonathan Brooks be back? Who knows? He tore the same ACL. He's going to be one of them back end Joe guys. I can already sense it. Joe's going to take him in the last round every single time. Chris Brooks, ETN. A lot of interesting names here that, we were excited about going into this year. LaQuint Allen and Phil Maffa. Shout out to Davis Maddock on those picks. I know he really likes those guys. Deshaun Vele might be an interesting get here. Who knows where he will be going into next year. Jack Beck was a darling. Kate Otten, again, guys, there's a lot of interesting picks down here in the 13th, 14th round. I'm excited to see where that goes in these big boards here. So we're in round 14. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 picks left. We have 4 running backs, 7 wide receivers, no tight ends. So we are going to take some tight ends. So don't worry about it. We're probably going to wait down here. Not a concern. Not a concern at all. We're not worried about it. Okay. Do we want Dylan Sampson? He showed some life this year. He looked good when given the ball. Will they give him the ball? Do we want 2 Cleveland running backs? We do not. Colby Parkinson showed a lot with Stafford this year. Dalton Schultz. Is he coming back? You know, young guy, youngish guy in the league. Kind of like him. But I think we're going to go. You know, I like Dyke too. We're going to take Dyke or DK. See, Trey Harris, there's another one of my guys. I like Trey Harris there in round 14. Absolutely 1000% smash. Smash Trey Harris in round 14, guys. DK Harris, absolutely. And again, you know, maybe that McMillan pick should have been Tajay Spears, which it probably should have been, and sitting a little bit better at running back position. Still only have 4. Not the best ones, you know, not the worst ones. We could take a rookie, fly him in there. So let's take a look here. We're probably going to take Braylon Allen, knowing that Brees is probably going to go. Hopefully Braylon Allen doesn't get picked by this guy coming here. So again, we're just ripping off one of the new big boards on Conference Championship Sunday while the Patriots play. Let's see what the score of that game is. 7-7. Drake May, 6-yard run. Broncos fumble. Interesting. Got a touchdown from Jarrett Stidham. I bet nobody thought he was going to throw a touchdown today. Well, he did. We're going to take Braylon Allen here. So we got a room that looks like Joe Burrow, Jaden Daniels, Scattaboo, Judkins, Woody, Rashad, Braylon Allen. And obviously, guys, the schedule hasn't come out yet, so we don't know the week 17 correlations. We don't know the week 16, week 15 correlations. So this is just, you know, a draft to rip based off of what we might be excited to see out of certain players. I am going to be taking Caleb Johnson, just so you guys know. They brought him in. I also might take Ollie Gordon. We do like Ollie Gordon on the show. He has shown a bit. Brashard Smith, interesting selection if we wanted to wait a little bit more on some more running backs, which we'll probably do. So we're in round 15, 16, 17, 18, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We want to get at least 2 tight ends. And as you can see, as many of our watchers and viewers know, I am more than happy to sit on the tight end position. There's still a lot of tight ends that you can take chances on. This is the area where the Harold Fannons were last year. Now, if you want Fannin, you got to take him in round 6. Have I built the best team? I don't know. I don't think so. But I do know that there's a lot to think about sitting here at the 3rd pick. I can already tell you I'm not a super big fan of the 3rd pick when comparing it to the back end, especially from the running back perspective. So you do have to take a little bit more chances on running backs a little bit earlier than you might want to if you're sitting here at the 2nd pick. I do have 5 running backs, just like most of the other people on the board. Are my running backs as great? You know, not necessarily. All right. So this is where we're probably, I mean, look, we still got JJ McCarthy, Penix. K. Dotton's still on the board. Tesla. We want Tesla on this team, though. So we are going to put Tesla on this team. We know the coordinators and everything are changing. You know, it is what it is. Troy Franklin is interesting. I know we bought into the Troy Franklin bus at some point this year. Quarterbacks still available. Tua, reclamation project, right? Justin Fields, where will he be? J-Mo, you know, the pickings start to get slim. Shadur is still out there. Who will be their starting quarterback? Will Jacoby Brissett still be Arizona's starting quarterback? That's a big question. How will Penix perform with a new head coach? What will J.J. McCarthy do with what he has? It's a big question. Big question. All right, so this is pick 17. And we're going to probably take a tight end here. And, you know, where would David Njoku land? It's a great question. We're going to take Njoku here probably. He's going to be probably a free agent right now. Right now, we're going to take Devin Neal. All right. All right, so let us see. Let's see where Njoku will land. So let's see Njoku contract. All right, so he will be somewhere else. So we are going to take Njoku. And, you know, none of these other tight ends that are below that really kind of shine out. I would probably take a couple chances on Pat Freiermuth. A couple chances on Evan Ingram. This just wasn't Evan Ingram's year. It wasn't Evan Ingram's year in 2024 either from a targets perspective. He's not a big touchdown guy, so there is not a lot of touchdown equity, right? But you're also getting that touchdown equity from other places. So we're going in here. We have 9 wide receivers. Is it great to have 9 wide receivers all the time? No. I am the only there's only 3 people in this draft that have 2 quarterbacks, Josh Allen and Cam, and then Lamar and McCarthy. We have a rookie quarterback here, Simpson. There goes Noel. And looking at the board here, we have 3 tight ends, 1 tight end, 0 tight ends, 2, 3, 2, 2, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3. I doubt that these guys are going to go with another tight end. Maybe they will. Maybe they won't. Here's Keaton. That's expected. I am curious about his contract. So he's got a 4. He's up in the final year of his contract too. Again, willing to take chances, right? And when we see the landing spots for some of those rookie tight ends, it will be really interesting to see how that will show out. But I'd rather have more at wide receiver. We do know that position, we see a lot of injuries. We've got Jamar, T, Ted, Ricky, Pat, Godwin, McMillan, Dyke, or DK, Tesla. Sprinkling in some rookies from this year with some vets, I think is a good play. There goes Kate Otten. I'm not shocked by that. So as is on brand for me, at least, getting tight end here with the last 3 picks. Shout out to all the viewers that always ask me to try for that. This next pick is also going to be a tight end. And the question is, do we sprinkle in a little rookie action? Do we take Ingram? I'm interested if they let go of Cole Kmet. deal runs through 2027. Okay. Oh, there goes Jonathan Brooks. Malik Washington's interesting to me. Higbee's interesting to me. We got Chig. Oh, here we go. This is who we want. We want Gunnar Helm. Gunnar Helm, I think, will show out this going into this season. He had a really good year with Cam, both being rookies. I don't have a problem with something like that. 44 receptions, 2 touchdowns in a rookie year for a tight end. It's not bad. I mean, it's not going to win you a championship by any means, but it's not bad. 4 receptions, against the Jags, he had six. So he's a guy that they can target if they choose to target him. And to be all honesty, there's a good chance that a guy like Chig will also be, late like this too. So I'm willing to take more chances like that more than anybody else at tight end and just kind of punt that position, knowing that the best tight end went in the first round. And, if you're not going Trey McBride in the first round, I'm one of those guys that's, unless the right pieces fall, just wait. You might take a rookie here. Let's take a look. All right. Where are they saying? Draft projection, 4th round. Okay. I mean, we might take Trig. Arroyo was a guy that everybody was watching last year as well. I know it's a lot of tight end talk, but this is what happens when we get into the back end. My question is where is Michael Mayer's contract at? All right, so he's gonna find us. He's gonna find a landing spot for sure. Is he on the final? He's currently in the final year of his 4-year deal. Yeah, we're gonna load up Michael Mayer instead. See where the promised land takes us with our ragtag bunch of tight ends. Hollywood Brown, Chart Smith, love that. Ollie Gordon in the last round, sure. Give me that all day, every day. Malik Washington in the last round, sure. So he is a free agent in 2027. So 4-year deal with the Raiders. Maybe. All right. We'll take the rookie and see how the cards lie. So there's still a decent number of interesting players left on the board. Kelvin Austin, will he get a good position somewhere else? Last year's early season, off-season darling there, Keandre Lambert-Smith. Kendre Miller, will he get a final chance? Taj Brooks last year, will he come in and do more? Chisholm, will he show out? Lots of questions on the board right now in terms of where to go and what to see and do. So that was the first one of the season. And we will be probably, we'll stop there. But tomorrow when we go live, just know we're going to probably rip a big board, Joe and I, with a little board as well. So feel free, everybody, if you were watching today, like, follow, subscribe. If you're watching on replay, just showing you a little bit of that early best ball action with the big board. Lots of things to think about, lots of things to see. I'm primarily very, very interested in how this part of the draft shakes down. There's going to be a lot of duds from this part of the draft. Joe and I will talk a little bit more about that tomorrow. But as you can see, this is where people believe the running back pool starts to kind of diminish. And you can see that the talent there is pretty diminished. You got, 3 rookies, a lot of uncertain situations. And so a lot of people are pumping up those other running backs really, really early in the board. Would I take some of those backs over guys like Chris Olave, Ladd, Javonte? Yes. When I take running backs over Zay, probably. You can also see, and we'll talk about this more tomorrow when Joe comes on, the damage you can do to your team by taking quarterbacks early. I think sixth round, like I showed you here, is where I'm comfortable starting taking a quarterback. Would my team have been better off with waiting and maybe adding Brian Thomas Jr. and Kamanungai? Potentially. Do I think that Joe Burrow and Jane Daniels have the chance to be 2 of the top 5 scoring quarterbacks in the league this year? Absolutely. And you can get them 2 rounds after Drake May, 3 rounds after Josh Allen. I think there's nothing wrong with that. As history has shown us from this past year, waiting to take that rookie wide receiver is probably smart. So I'd probably be avoiding Tate and Tyson at that value. I'm definitely avoiding Alec Pierce at pick 58. That is absurd to me. Same with Christian Watson and Cortland Sutton. These 3 guys are avoids for me. I'd probably replace them with Igbuka, Harrison, and Waddle. Even if I'm in this situation, I'd probably push up Jackson Dart a little bit more. But as you go through the board, and we're going to talk about this more tomorrow, like I said, looking at the spots that you have for these running backs. So there's a lot of uncertainty at the running back position. And you can see, just like we saw last year, that round 9 through 12 is where we start to pop off a little bit more quarterback action. So you have Dak, Mahomes, Nix, Goff, Love, Purdy, Shook, Mayfield, Darnold. I don't really have a problem with any of those quarterbacks going in that spot. Travis Hunter has fallen all the way to around 11. I like that. And the comparable value to wide receivers here as opposed to running backs really is prominent. We have a couple more rookies. So rookies in the 10th round. And, let's be serious here. We know that there are certain situations that are safe. We know that Bijan is safe. We know Gibbs is safe. We know McCaffrey's safe. We know Hampton's safe. We know Genty and Cook are safe. We know that Barkley, Derrick Henry, Achane, and Taylor are pretty much safe. We know that RJ Harvey is pretty safe. We know that Bucky is probably going to be safe in as far as the degree is concerned. We know that Ken Walker is going to find a new team, most likely. We know that Breece Hall is going to find a new team, most likely. Travis Etienne is probably going to find a new team. So just looking off the board here right now, so you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 running backs, 15 running backs that have their situation set, 16 with Quinshon Judkins. Then you have this other grouping of running backs that are going to have jobs next year, primarily. So then when you start to look down here, these are the people that people are questioning how their job security is. I mean, it makes sense. We do believe in Kamanungai, but at this point in time, there's a lot of chatter saying that maybe not. Do we believe in Bashal Tutin? Yeah, I think so. I believe in Blake Corum as well. If Kyron, let's take a look at Kyron's contract so we can see how long he's going to be hanging around with Blake Corum. So his contract, he is going to still be a Ram. So he's not going anywhere either. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. Love will end up being the starting running back for someone, so that will probably be 18. Chase Brown will probably keep his job, so that will probably be 19. Joe disagrees. So is it too early to take Corum? maybe. The Washington running back room is interesting to me. The Carolina running back room is interesting to me. Who will Chuba or Rico? Will Rico find a new team going into next year? How will that work out, right? Is Woody Marks the guy? Probably not. But round 9, willing to take a shot. Tyler Algier, probably going to find a new team next year. You got all these situations. Rashad White will probably end up on a team next year. Zach Charbonnet might be the leader in the clubhouse for Seattle unless they bring back Walker. Will they take a rookie running back as well? Braylon Allen is said to be the next guy up for the Jets. But as we know, do you want to be the running back behind a terrible offensive line? That's the question. That's why Judkins and Scadaboo injuries, that's why theirs fall down, right? So insofar as it's true, if you're sitting here at the 2-3 position, you're of course going to take Puka or Chase. And then one of these running backs is probably going to be important for your team. Bucky is my guy. And pairing Bucky up with Scadaboo and Judkins, I'd feel a little bit more comfortable going into the season with that kind of starting pool, and then taking Woody down in the 9th, and then getting the wide receivers that I took down here. And again, there aren't a lot of wide receivers going here. All right. So again, this is a point that I'll bring up with Joe tomorrow, is you look at the wide receiver room here, and you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 different wide receivers out of 4 rounds worth of picks. So this is a spot where people are taking quarterbacks and tight ends. And honestly, it's really not the spot unless you really want a tight end from that grouping of tight ends. I would say like Kittle, Wright, Barner, Schultz would be fine. There's really no purpose to doing that. I'd be taking more chances on running backs or wide receivers there. Looking at the running backs, though, again, those situations are even more situational, right? Will Kamara retire, right? Then as you come down here and look at the back half of the draft, you're sitting here with a lot of wide receivers, kind of the reverse of what happened in the last 4 rounds. People are taking pot shots at some of these wide receivers that we know can be really good. The Vele's, the Tez Johnsons, the Legettes, they can show out and give good numbers. The Manners. And then we round out with people taking chances on wide receivers. In the next draft we do, maybe I take a little bit more equity in the tight end position a little bit earlier, so that we don't get 3 options here at the back end. But again, Njoku, if he lands on a good team, he could show out. Gunnar Helm, I think, will probably take a little bit more away from Okonkwo this year. And then Trigg, being a rookie, who knows, right? Probably wouldn't take a guy like Hunt. Probably wouldn't take a guy like Garendo. That feels like a wasted pick. But again, lots of things to look at from the early best ball season. So guys, feel free to like, follow, subscribe. We will be with you tomorrow, most likely 3:45, with both of us together, Joe and I. Again, what we just did was the first best ball draft of the season for us here at Local Football Flavor, and a big board at that. So zooming in a little bit, let's just go over the team again. And again, we don't know any of the correlations that we're getting for week 15, 16, 17 yet. So we got Burrow and Daniels. We got those 70 and 75 right around their ADPs. I'm not mad about that, especially what we said on the broadcast last week. We get Cam Scadaboo a little bit ahead of the ADP. Quinshon Judkins ahead of the ADP currently. Woody Marks ahead of the ADP. Rashad White, Braylon Allen, Devin Neal, all ahead of the ADP. If you're sitting at that 3 hole, as we showed you before, you are going to have to take running backs ahead of their ADP. And it doesn't feel good, but you're going to have to do it. Wide receivers, though, you're going to also kind of be right around ADP to a little bit after ADP. So we got Jamar, T, Tet, Ricky, Pat Bryant, Chris Godwin, Jalen McMillan, Chamiri Dyke, Isaac Tesla, and then we rounded it out with 3 tight ends. We know that tight ends can hit for a week, maybe 2 weeks at a time. And I'm not prioritizing them unless I'm getting Trey McBride. All right, guys. So this is Local Football Flavor. Thanks for joining us today. If you're watching on replay, like, follow, subscribe. And we will be with you most likely tomorrow and ripping off some more big boards and little boards. Peace out.